getting. Hello? Hello? Wait, what? Yeah. Okay. Okay, when you get home, you let me know.
All right, looks like we're on.
We're on, G Mike.
Cool. Good evening, good people. I am G. Michael Reid. This is See Smoke, Read Between the Lines, our weekly podcast. We did a thing on Wednesday, which was a very informative show, along with Deidre Gillett, a wonderful lady out there in California. Deidre has done some work with disabled children, autism being one of those disabilities. You know that the big story was about the young boy from Stella Maris who got out of the gate by some weird way. Nobody knows exactly what happened there. It seems like there has been a pledge by the minister to fix the fence and the gate, which should have been long done, of course, but we have to just accept what we get and hope that in the future nothing like this ever happens again. Where we were running over the things, different things that could happen with Deja, and quite a voice of experience. Deidre has herself been not only working with children with such disabilities, but has a child of her own that is facing some of these challenges. It's a tough time for her. I want to thank Deidre also for assisting in my situation. She spearheaded a drive that made it possible for me to get a much needed surgery. This will be done next week, and I'm looking forward to getting back on my feet and being active again in my own community, working with some children, not children with disabilities physically, but I'll tell you what, many of the children growing up in Belize today have a different type of disability. Uh, Lack of direction, lack of purpose, lack of ability. And it's sad because we see many of them falling by the wayside, hanging on the street corner. In fact, the new modus operandi, if you will, is sitting on the corner with this. Anybody ever see this? All day long. This is it. Crushing weed in the palm of the hand. And it's gotten to be a rather depressing sight because you know when you see somebody crushing weed like that, not likely that they're going to a job or to school. A wise man once said to me, he said, son, weed makes dreamers of potential achievers. And I thought about that long and hard. It was one of the things that made me move away from that lifestyle. I am not ashamed to say that I did smoke weed profusely as a young man. I wasted a lot of time, a lot of years because of it, but I've come to the understanding that it is not the way. There's nothing wrong with weed, and I still indulge myself from time to time, but certainly not in that kind of way where it just consumes all my time and takes me out of my game. If I do it, it's to get some reflective time, get some time where I can meditate, do some prayers. It helps me to ease my mind. Though if a person is not stable in life, has not set himself up, I would not recommend that you fall into that life at all because it can get, in particular when you do it as a means of partying and feeling good, because that feel good does not last too long. You come down and then you have to go back up again. Do not rely on it for life, for a way to make your life work. That will not do it. So the child got out of the fenced area. Um, we don't know how, whether the gate was not locked. Certainly, the guard was not paying attention, whoever was on duty at that time. The teachers were not aware where all their students are. And given that there's a number of them, you have to know at every moment where those children are because they're mischievous and they don't know what they're doing. One thing I found is that the cameras along Freetown Road are working because they followed that child all the way to the hangar where he jumped into the sea. If there's anybody I would question in that, is that there's a gentleman there in a red shirt. I don't know if anybody has spoken to him, but he actually watched the child run into the sea and then later on was among those who were trying to pull him out and save him, but the damage was done. The child was already gone. And it's an unfortunate incident. And what is more unfortunate now is that we hear that the parents who were estranged are fighting over who's going to bury the child. Fact of the matter is, there's a little money probably to be had because people are very concerned about this matter and have been helping out to make sure. I don't know. It, it might ease the pressure off our conscience if we help at least at this point. Many believe that we should have helped earlier, but how can we know? How would we know? So right now, I would hope that the child will be given a decent burial and that we move on and learn from this situation. Now, moving on to other things, 96 detainees in ICE custody about to be returned to Belize. This matter, that one touchy one, and I was always accused of you that Trumpster, and I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'll tell you what, I am not one who hates everything about Donald Trump, and every time the name Donald Trump comes up, I get into a full fury. Donald Trump is picking up illegal aliens. Now, according to him, the ones who give trouble are the ones who is more targeting. It seems not. He seems like he's just getting anybody who's illegal who doesn't have papers. Well, people, there are a couple of amnesty programs that were launched in the U.S. from time to time. I heard of them. I don't know why. Richard, are you on?
Yes, sir.
You're looking good and sounding good, man. Thanks for joining up us, Richard. As soon as you come on, the dog start barking, and this is not interested. So listen, I've been trying to get you on for a while because you're one of those movers and shakers, if you will, pushing the boundaries of the arts.
That's right.
Tell us a bit about Richard. You're a Belizean, correct?
Yes, man. Born in Belize, 1974.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Let me deal with this.
Dog excited, man. All's well there? I think your mic cut after G. You're in the
Yeah,
show.
I did cut it off. I'm trying to as you know, I'm in Mexico City. I'm waiting to get some medical attention. I'm at my sister's house, and she has a couple of dogs. She's
Yeah.
she's trying to control them at this point. As soon they'll be out of here soon. But Richard, yeah, you have been on the scene in Belize. In fact, I've seen some of the pictures that I've admired the most have had the signature RH
That's
under
right.
them. You push the boundaries in many areas. Were you the first that actually somebody's phone to ring now?
Yeah.
Were you the first that did a nude exhibit in Belize? Because I don't remember seeing any before your exhibit.
Mm-hmm. I try to figure out this computer here, G. This is not my system. This is a friend of mine who's trying to help me out. Okay, so I can't say myself nor you. I'll just trust that I look decent, and if I don't, you'll tell me. Yes. So the question is if I did the first nude in Belize, no?
Yes, the new your exhibit was that. I mean, and you talk about pushing the boundaries. That was in a time when Belize was not. I don't know if we were ready for it, but you certainly are there. Here we go. Yeah, not bad.
As a young man, I was very much drawn to the female form. I've always been an admirer of the female form. I studied figure drawing previous to photography, and I was always very fascinated by the way, the softer curves of a female form, and the way it appeared a lot in art history. So I was very much drawn to that, and I'm sure my hormones had something to do with that as well. And when I came back to Belize, it was 1999. I had already, captured nudes and was very familiar with that. So, as an young artist, I came with a very open mind. And my first exhibition in Belize was entitled Nude, an exhibition without inhibition. That was kind of a big moment for me, and I didn't think of it as that, until later I realized, okay, maybe it was because when you're creating works and you're doing art, you really don't think about how people will perceive it that much. You're just kind of going with your vision. You know what I'm saying?
Pour your creativity into it, huh?
Yeah, I think real art is kind of like I think I want to go off track a lot, because there's so much to say about creating art and the whole process of creation and how these things come to be. I think that Belizeans all have the potential, maybe old school Belizeans, people from my generation or your generation, we grew up without all these devices in front of us eclipsing our mind, and we kind of had more ownership of our thoughts. We were also you didn't have a lot of things to play with, like we didn't have a lot of books in the library. I recall not even being able to see many books about artists. So it was a very gray area. And we used to play with anything, on vacation time. We would play things we found, we just gonna play catch or always interact, and imagination was very, very involved. And I found that was kind of a great foundation for creating in any direction, right? Because the playfulness unfolded as we went into it. It unfolded, so we never really create. I felt like whenever I create anything at all, because I do so many different things, and I do it for myself first and foremost, I have to say, because it is kind of like a therapy. I mean, it's kind of like for me, part of my existence. I hope I not to get too complicated here.
No, well, listen, go with the fun because what it brings back to mind for me is the fact that we were creative in making our own toys, coming up with different games to play, and so that strikes a chord when you say that Belizeans were creative. We didn't have the distractions of the technological advances that we see today, no?
Right. So let me get back to what you had asked me, because I kind of drifted far away.
Take your time, man. We're doing all right. Yeah.
The nude exhibition was a collection of images I had gathered of women I had photographed, while I was in the States and different parts of the world I had visited. I really wanted to do that a lot, and I saw myself doing Playboy and Penthouse and that kind of material, but more from an artistic side. I was more interested in the art of it, less the pornographic element of it. The full exposure.
But you can't get off on that. I mean that they're right. As a guy that in fact was arrested for bigamy, you didn't get caught up in any of those kind of circles, did you?
No, man.
You're smarter than that.
Yeah, definitely. Fortunately, I was also. I think my models recognized my talent somehow. You have to know. You have to know that you got it. You know what I'm saying? And my professors and they made me feel like that. They really encouraged me a lot. So my whole perspective on that kind of material was a little more like a doctor, I suppose. I approach it very much like a scientist. The female form and capturing it in a diverse way. And trying to stay true to the elements of the fine arts. Like the lighting, the chiaroscuro, being very experimental with lighting and how that reveal the female form. Anyway, despite all of my great, insights and deep thoughts about this, when I presented the work in Belize in the year 2000, it was met with some. It's very hard to say. A lot of different people never know how to process it. So I'll give you an example. The first place I wanted to exhibit this work at was Image Factory, which I am now, great friends with Yasser Musa and a whole part of that organization. I feel like I am a part of the Image Factory as well. The history of it. But at the time, they didn't want to show it.
They weren't ready, you think?
They said straight up, we can't show this.
I don't know about like you're going to a convent, Richard. I mean, this is an art place. I'm surprised.
Yeah, but believe it or not, nudes, and you know this, you probably know this better than me, that nudity wasn't something that was being displayed on a lot. Probably not at all, because this was the first exclusive art show of black and white nude photography of women. Beautiful stuff.
Do you think we don't appreciate enough the naked body? I mean, are we inhibited in our thoughts as far as that is concerned? We just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's an intimidation factor in it, but now, today coming, let's say, 20 odd years after that exhibition rocked the world there in Belize, because just to say a few more things about how people process the show before I move to the next start. It was interesting when I did Lita Krohn, well, I always be grateful for, allowed me to do that show at the House of Culture at the time. Big things here, but here it is. Simultaneously, 7 of those images were published in Penthouse, Spain. And Belize never know about that. You know why? Because I never had social media at the time.
Right.
And then I just, like I said, I was just doing my thing, but I have a couple copies of that magazine in my portfolio. Penthouse España, I got the centerfold, the same black and white images that were in the show. Some of them,
Is this the same Penthouse that was like Playboy? You had Playboy and Penthouse.
Yeah, if I show you the magazine, the
big magazine.
The other chapters of that same magazine was full exposure, as you know, in the tradition of Penthouse.
Correct.
They called my chapter Arte del Desnudo, Art of the Nude, because it was Penthouse Spain that published it.
Interesting. Take us back to the journey though, because you said when you came back from the U.S., what year did you go to the U.S. and what was your purpose for going?
Yeah, I went to the U.S. I believe it was about 1991 to study art. My mom finally said, you know what, okay, you're gonna be an artist then, because as a child growing up in the Caribbean and Belize, they never had much of an art scene. Like artists weren't like
encouraged.
Yeah, they weren't encouraged at all. I mean, like one thing, you either do it after you're done your schoolwork. That's what I did.
Or during schoolwork, when you're in a school, I remember kids who used to like to join. I knew one guy who drew well, but he had to be hiding in his books and whatnot while the rest of us were studying. Yeah, it wasn't encouraged at all. There was actually no classes in
Mhm.
school for it. So you had to go abroad to get that.
You're absolutely right, G. And I could tell you, I used to get in trouble for the drawing of my books,
Yeah.
you know? And I have a recording of my stepfather giving me some advice. I like collect things. I'm sentimental. The man would send me a recording one time. I said, and try not to do so much drawings as much.
Oh,
He
yeah.
gave me like advice from school, and he said, and I listened to this thing and I laughed the other day when I come across it. He recorded some advice for me when he was in Trinidad, and he sent this tape for me to Belize. And I was like 11 years old, or maybe younger. And he said, and try to lay off the drawings a little bit. Then nobody may understand it. Even my mom, who was very encouraging, she probably understood me the most, because her father was Cleveland Berry. You know the guy. Good morning, Miss Lady. That man.
With the same Christmas song that everybody sings.
Good morning, Miss Lady. You know the
we
Cleveland
all
Berry.
we all sing that, yeah, but we don't know that who sing it actually. Some of us do, but
Yeah.
I don't think we give him the prominence that he deserves. No, because I'm a
Right.
classic.
He was a man who never want that kind of attention to, and I
So
understood that.
he was your mother's father then?
Yeah, my
Or you-
grandfather.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now that was deep history. So art runs in your blood, and you have come full circle with that. And now from art, you have been dabbling in music, haven't you? Also,
Yeah, well, I think in life, evolution is very important, right? And change is also good. Not to say that we will abandon the things we've done in the past. They're all adding up somehow, Sometimes you're changing and you're not even aware of it until it falls on you like an epiphany. You have all these thoughts, you have all these analysis, you're looking so, at the world. And if
an
you
awakening, if you will. It just dawns on you.
it dawns on you. It's something inside of you that keeps moving forward. I think that's probably the way to live for a long and healthy life, is to keep changing and growing. And embracing new things. So yeah.
So about your studies in the U.S. Well, you went to school, and
Mhm.
did you finish the studies? Did you achieve your degrees?
Yes, absolutely. I had graduated with a bachelor's in fine arts, focusing on photography, minor in English literature and illustration. So I'm basically painting and drawing. You know.
So after that period, you had done some work over there too. The penthouse years was during your time in the States, correct?
Man, that's a complicated thing. To say, like, I wanted to live here basically, so that's why I was focusing more on fashion photography and erotic photography, if you want to call it that, right? But my plans were, I've said this a couple times before, is the truth, right? I get along with all my fathers now, but man, when I was a young guy, did not have a good relationship, especially with my biological father, who's American, as he pretty much messed up the path I had worked so hard to achieve in the States. When I had finished, he's an American citizen, basically. He told my mom he wanted to file for me when I was there, and basically did nothing. And for 8 years, I did my part. He didn't do his part. My mother passed away in a tragedy. I give you a lot of information now.
Yeah.
In 1998, I was devastated by that. I came back home for her funeral, and I went back to the States thinking, like, okay, now start a new beginning, let's start fresh. But that guy didn't live up to his bargain. And so when you saw me in Belize in 1999, or whenever I first saw you, yes, you were looking at a man who was very heartbroken. I was heartbroken. I had to leave someone I loved in the States. I told her, don't come to Belize. This is not a place for you. You can't deal with mosquitoes. You can't deal with this kind of life. Belize is a special place. And I knew she couldn't do it at the time. I was dating a photographer as well. And she stayed in New York and pursued her dreams.
Interesting.
I came back to Belize and paved one road without even knowing that I was going to do that.
So apparently what happened is that you took the shattered past and built a new future upon that. Would you say that kind of describes it?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was road to be paved in Belize, and I was the guy to do it. We all have our destiny, it doesn't always go. Life not always go the way you expect it to, and we might be angry at people for things like that. But ultimately, if you live through them, you understand that maybe this happened for a reason. Because look,
But see that's it. You have a destiny, but you also have a past. Would you now encourage those who have had similar past, because you know Belize is full of such stories where you didn't have a good relationship with one parent or the other, and many give up. Many go turn to drugs, turn to a life of crime, turn to what would you be your advice to somebody like that you see going along a path like you had to travel. What would be your advice to how to swing that around and maybe bring it to where they get a productive future like yours?
yeah, that is a very difficult question to answer. I'll tell you why. Because there are residues. It takes a lot of strength for lose your dream, lose your love, and lose your mother at the same time, and be basically abandoned, and on your own, that kind of like sudden way. I mean, it was very, very, very. And I went through so many things, and all the different exhibitions I was doing. It was, I always felt pieces of my heart I'm holding, I'm very emotional thing, and I
But
had to.
did you pour your passion into your work? Do you think that maybe helped to create some better pieces that you were working on? Or it
No,
held you back a bit?
no, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it helped at all. I don't think an artist needs to be struggled in that way. I mean, I think artists, if an artist could be happy and could thrive in his youth, I think the sky's the limit for that person. I had to fight. I had to fight. It wasn't easy. I had to fight myself. I had to try to forgive my father, because that was destroying me. The hate I had for that man was immense. It's a crazy confession. And
You
it's
know,
more.
but I think I remember your father. Didn't he live on Magazine Road?
No, that's my stepfather.
That's your stepfather. Okay.
Very
And
responsible man. Very responsible man. That different character.
okay.
Biological father. Really don't want to get into it too much. Like, I've forgiven the man. Honestly, I have forgiven him. That you
But do
just
you carry his name or your stepfather's name?
My stepfather is my father.
Okay, I hear you.
If me and he stop talk tomorrow, as far as I'm concerned, he's my father. He's the guy who raised me. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? He was there when my mom got divorced, and I as much as we are extremely different again, because he is. I don't find him. He understood creativity very well, and
But you've had some degree of success, though, Richard. You have to say that. And I don't know. Obviously, that did not hold you back. But you're saying had it been better than that you would have maybe been much further than you are today.
I think when you think about your role you live, right, as a human being, and maybe you think about things beyond your desires, right? Richard Holder, that guy who will be remembered, obviously, right, for the time he was in Belize, capturing history, pushing the boundaries with nude, creating the first Belikin calendar. You think about all the different things I accomplished there in my work. I'm aware of it. I know. But I feel like those things, I had to be the guy to be there to do it. It wasn't that I wanted to be doing that. My pursuit and the things I had imagined I would have been doing before I took that detour to Belize, and that became the place I settled. I saw different things for myself, and I understand that going there at that time was extremely difficult to release all of the dreams I had and all the things I imagined I would have been doing. And just as a young person, it's very difficult. But I'll tell you what, if I could go back in the past, there's one thing I would do differently. You know what it would be? One thing I would do, I wouldn't not be in Belize doing the things I've done, because now looking back, I could see where I needed to be there. I was planted there for a reason. You understand what I'm saying, G?
It's difficult not being in a position, no, but I could kind of like see where you're going.
There was
But
a purpose. It had to be done. I had to be the guy for pave that road. I had to
what
bring
is
the things,
what is your destination now of destiny? You think, are you going to ever come back to you? Are you where are you now in the States or in Belize?
Okay, so I told you all those things just now, right?
Right.
And here's the sum of it.
Uh,
I'm living in Houston, Texas now.
okay.
Yeah.
You're not worried about Trump. 'Cause
Trump is
Trump, they
not.
look for all
Yeah.
immigrants, you know.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I could knock on the door. I have my green card in my wallet.
but,
That's
but
a
yeah,
plan.
I don't know. What do you think? You think he's gonna go after everybody, or is he gonna just go after the illegal and the undocumented?
Well, at first, as far as I know right now, he's going after the undocumented and illegal immigrants in the country, right? He don't create problems like that. He seems to be a problem for the citizens of America as well, because the government, as I can see, is in disarray, you know?
Don't you think he's isolating America from the rest of the world? I mean, people are just not looking up to America like they used
Not,
to.
no, of course not. I mean, you see his press conferences. I'm not a fan of him.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of him, but neither, I don't feel like I'm deep in America yet to have a say. I can't vote either. I am gonna have to be here for a couple of years before I could get citizenship and be a part of that discussion more. No, but just as an observer, I find him to be a very negative element. And as an artist, we feel, right? We feel we are very sentimental people. I think we care a lot about everything from nature to each other. I look at people, a lot of my work I have to do it trying to get people to care about each other beyond the nudity and things like that. The more social projects I've worked on have been to try to, make the communities come together. And, and we could talk about a whole bunch of different projects that I attempted to do that.
Well, let's look at this, because obviously your bed has not been your life has not been a bed of roses. You've had your trials and tribulations and whatnot. As an artist, do you take situations like these and like that and use it as an impetus to create new work, new ideas?
I want to understand the question a little bit better. What do you mean exactly? Tell me again.
Yeah. There are people who look at experiences in different ways. Some allow it to bring them down and keep them in a hole, if you will. Others use it as a climb, and instead of a stumbling block, as a building block, and step up on that and create new things, create new ideas. What would you say? How have you handled that?
Well, I think Belize is a unique place, right? Because it's a very tough world. So climbing is not my easy thing. You could plateau pretty fast in a Belize. Like if
you can.
Like especially if you know, not to be arrogant in saying this, right? But if I want to create something where everybody would talk about today, I could do it. I have books and books of ideas. I have things I intend to do still. There came a point in time in my life in Belize where I realized that, okay, people see me as the main guy to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
How boring is that now? You know what I mean? And I started to try other things. But to me, the accomplishment that I achieved after that, for me personally, because remember, it's not about how people see you that's important. It's how you feel about your life, right? Your life, how you feel, where are you inside, how you feel about that is the most important thing. What is how your happiness deep down inside, right? Accomplishments could make other people feel great about you and idolize you, but is that really happiness for the individual? You understand what I'm saying? These are philosophical things now.
Looking at the Richard Holder that I'm speaking to right now, is that Richard Holder happy or still unhappy because of things that have happened to you throughout your life?
Okay, yeah, I can answer that question. I'm happy.
Well, all right, good.
I'll tell
So
you why.
you've overcome the
Yeah, but
difficulties.
let me explain to you why, right?
Mm.
After I guess I've achieved acclaim and things like that, and people knew me and my work and all that good stuff. The happiness I achieved on my other part of my life was my family. I have now 3 children. I have a wife. We've been married since 2012, Crystal. I heard her dad was good friends with you, Renee Skeen. I was just
Okay.
told. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I found a lot of stability there. A lot of my world is more complete there from inside. Now hungry, because you talk about like wanting to, if we use this kind of energy for create, right? The negative energy or
Correct.
anger
Correct.
and all these different things. Yeah, I've used that, man, before in the past. Yeah. But how I feel now, think about this. My father didn't get me here in the States. I qualified for EB1A, which is an artist visa, artist with extraordinary ability, alien with extraordinary abilities. This visa is only available to artists and scientists. To get there, you have to prove to the immigration people here in the States who are reviewing the application that you are the top 10%, within the top 10% of professionals in your category. I submitted as fine art photographer. They felt that I qualified. I moved here on my own merits. I got here January 1st. I'm hungry. Yeah, I have things to prove. I have things to prove.
But did you say your father was an American?
He is an American.
But didn't that count for something? As far as I know that now Trump is saying that the birthright citizenship is being canceled and whatnot. But I know before that, did not count for something that your father was an American?
My father, the ex Navy officer, all kind of thing. But I guess I can't explain things for him. You know, it seemed to me in hindsight, trying to evaluate the individual objectively, that man cared more about himself than getting me something done for me. When I moved here, I was 17 years old. And when I moved back to Belize, I was 25 years old. His promise was made when I was 17. When I paid for the immigration attorney to file again before I left the States, because I wanted to come back initially, he reviewed everything and he said, I don't mean to make this any worse, his words, but it appears your father didn't do anything for you. I'm sorry to tell you that. When you were 17, you could have gotten your papers before you were 18 years old. Now that you're 25, it's going to be about 10 years before you could get anything done.
Interesting.
And after 10 years, right, when they did call me back after 10 years, I had no interest in doing that at the time.
But Richard, I sense a bit of bitterness though. Do you think you'll ever get over that and forgive him and say,
man.
well, you know what?
If I told you this story 5, maybe 7 years ago, you would see a difference. And I know how I used to feel about this thing, man. I used to be like, my hands would tremble. I would have been
you should not your cross, they say, no?
Yeah. When I tell you this message for anybody who would tune into this thing right now, if I could go back in the past, I didn't finish that idea, and do one thing differently, it would not be not come to Belize. I see the value of that now, right? Yeah. And I moved here on those merits. That already is an affirmation to me that was the right thing, right? That was what I was supposed to do. What I didn't do well, and what I would go back and tell myself in the past, right, would be this. Forgive these people. Get it off your chest and move on with your life. Yeah. Don't hold it. Anger and bitterness, as you said just now, things that destroy you from within.
So you think it has held you back some in life? You could have been further than you are now had you let go of that earlier.
Yeah, well, the thing is that about time is that you don't get it back, right?
Right, that is correct.
So though
the pencil of God has no eraser.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that, the time ahead is also very important, that we try to enjoy and appreciate these things and be grateful, honestly. So when I look back at that, I thought I wasted time. When I review that, right, what happened in the past, I think I wasted my time to be angry with that man. I wasted my time with him, to worry about when he, and be so mad at him. Yeah. It was a waste of time. And now that what I've forgiven him, I could tell you when I started to do that whole forgiveness process, because it wasn't something immediate, it was like I gradually could feel something just kind of like fall off your back.
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
Would do you have any communication with him?
Absolutely. We spend time together. I call him sometimes, every week. Sometimes we keep in touch. In his old age, he's a great grandfather. I give him his credit. He's cool with the kids.
You guys have moved on. I mean, that's good news. Yeah. But you now, back to you, because I hear you, and it obviously was a dark spot in your life.
Yeah.
And you've managed to get over it, which is good. and I hope you just let it go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
You
Absolutely.
while in Belize, you did a very important piece, which was always apart from the nude. This one was significant also. The reflection of George Price as a hero. Tell us about that exhibit.
Man, that exhibit where it's near and dear to me because I had so much respect for Mr. Price when I first got back there. My grandparents used to talk about, my mom used to talk about. As a child, I'd heard about George Price. You know, everybody know George Price, right? The
Correct, correct.
father of the nation, you
He's
know.
a hero. He is the hero of the nation. Yeah.
And I got to know him, you know, when I got back home because I was working for the PUP as a prime minister's photographer in the Museum of Belize, and and I had asked him when, you know, on numerous occasions when he would go out there and give these, you know, accompany Syed Musa to these rallies and speeches and visits across the country. I said, hey, Mr. Price, I would love to shoot your portrait. You know,
Yeah. He was up in airs then already, though, right? So.
well, you know, that thing took a while for marinate on his mind because he was always very evasive in the most elegant way. You know, he's
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
cool guy.
yeah.
And then out of the blue, and I think it was meant to be because I believe in things beyond our explanation, things that, you know, they might line up in kind of spiritual ways. I think Mr. Price, being a very spiritual individual, the way I understood everything after it was finished, it really lined up in a symmetrical way. Let me explain what I mean by that. So September 2010, Mr. Smiling, you remember him?
Yes, Macho. I mean, Winston.
Winston, right?
Yeah.
He contacted me and said, Mr. Price, I want to know if you're ready to take a picture.
Uh,
Out of the blue, man. You know? And I was like, yes, of course. He said, okay, we made an appointment at his home. I couldn't ask for a better place. You know, I wanted to catch the real man in his environment. You
he
know?
was a humble man, I tell you what. That is what came out to me from Mr. Price more than anything else. Humility. I
Yeah.
remember him going to Belmopan and picking a house, and he picked the smallest house.
Yeah.
But I hope you captured that element, if you will.
I did. I really did. And we spent the afternoon together at his house, and it was I think it was brief because I had respect for him. So I didn't want to be lingering there like a fan. They asked the man questions all day, you know? I
Yeah.
wanted to get in there and capture something and leave respectfully. And so whatever he was willing to share, I was there for it. But at some point, graciously, myself and my assistant, we left, you know. But while I was there, something very interesting happened. I know that Mr. Price is a very spiritual individual. So I met him sometimes on the street walking to the church in the morning when I was driving, you know. He'd always walk from the church back to his house or, you know, and say hello to everybody. It was really
Did you capture any of the picture with the little girl? Because he had a little girl that was always used to walk to school also every day. Remember that?
I know. No, there was a little kid that that was
Yeah,
that.
there was a little girl that he always used to walk back and forth to school.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think he cared a lot about children, you know. And when I was at his house that day, there was a little kid that he kind of adopted, I suppose. I was there all the time.
It was the same one, yeah.
Yeah, he was a little boy. He looked like an angel. I'm so cute. And he would just be right there to annoy Mr. Price. You know, just to come around and sit down and hang out with him. And then there was this pretty cool moment, right, where he got up and he showed me the piano. He had a picture of his mother there in black and white. And he attempted to play the national anthem on the piano. I have some great shots of that. And the little kid just come right next to him and then mess around on the piano. I have shots of that. So there's some pictures I haven't published, you know, because I didn't think it fit properly in the context of the exhibition, Reflections of a Hero. But there's this one picture I want to tell about you that I felt it was kind of like divine intervention. So there was a portrait of Mr. Price that I had published when we found out that he had passed away, where his hands are kind of clasped in a prayer and he's kind of like this, right? Mm-hmm. Profile. And that image was kind of like a mistake. Let me explain to you why. I was photographing him. He was speaking to someone off on the side momentarily. I had this light shining straight on him, and I had a light coming through a window for the background for capture. I didn't even see it at the time when I was shooting. There was pictures of Jesus, and there was like a rosary, and there's some drawings of him. It was really cool, and still life arrangement on the wall. And for 1 second, only 1 second, he used to like do this thing.
Right.
Right? There was 1 second when the hands gone so, and then it came back down. And when he did that, I captured it, but the light in the front didn't go off. So there was this wonderful silhouette when it really looked like he's, praying. Imagination filled, brought that to life. The darkness is where all your imagination came in. What was he doing? Was he praying? Was he looking up? You couldn't tell. It really looked that way. It really looked like a prayer. So check this out. Well, jumping forward in time now. That was 2010. 2011, September, Mr. Price passed away, right?
Right.
Right. And they had the state funeral. I was so last minute about this. I said, man, I have all these pictures of Mr. Price, and I know this state funeral will be something big. I need to get out there. And last minute, I called my friend, Dr. Craig, Peter Craig, his nephew. And I said, hey, I would like to go with the family to Belmopan and capture what I see. And he invited me aboard the bus with the family. And so I went to Belmopan, and that, I feel like I did so well on that. I'm so pleased with that. Everything I had captured, all of that, all the people coming out with the imagery, it was just an amazing day. And in that moment, I was aware that there would never be another moment like that again, where the whole country come out for showing love for this man.
There'll never be another Mr. George Price, I tell you that. Yeah.
But there will never be anything like what happened on that day again. I'm telling you, the amount of respect and love at every part of that journey from Belmopan and back to the cemetery.
So is all that in the exhibit? Was that you put? And,
Yeah.
and do you plan to do maybe in one of his birthdays or anniversaries of some event, another show with Mr. Price in that context?
All right, I'll answer that question quick. I want to explain to you the symmetry of the whole thing, how it may actually play out though. And then I get right back to that, because that's something I would really want him to talk about. So, all right, after I captured all of that, I have to tell you some more stuff, but that Mr. Price show really blew my mind, because it is the exhibit that spans so much time. Normally when I'm creating a show, I would capture the material in a year and then do the exhibition. Mr. Price exhibition, it was first September 2010 when I went to his house, September 2011 when the state funeral happened, and again 2012 September, with again thinking that I should do something with these images, right? I reluctantly spoke to Elsie Alpuche, who was at the Price Center for Peace and Development at the time in Belmopan. I said, Elsie, I need to do something with these pictures. I need to put this exhibition together for September. And B&E came through and sponsored the whole exhibition. They paid for all the materials and enlargements, everything. And that show premiered there. Now, to my surprise, and I think it had to happen that way, because when I look back at it, like I said, there was like a symmetry to it, the September. And it was not my plan. I never know. I shoot Mr. Price in September. I'm sure none of us knew he was going to pass away in the following September. And I certainly didn't know that I would get it together to have this exhibition in 2012, the subsequent September. So just in that regard, I feel like that man was blessed, man, because it just worked out that way. And one more thing I want to tell you, on the shoot of the state funeral, when we were coming back from Belmopan, and they had, I can't remember the village itself, the name, but we stopped. I asked the boss to stop, because there was this epic scene, and I said, hey, please stop here. I need to get out and shoot this picture. They had these school children lining up on the street, with signs, about messages about Mr. Price, Father of the Nation, and everything. And down further than that, they had this huge crane across the road with a large PUP flag. They fly, massive PUP flag, right? It was quite a scene. I say, all of this on the street, no? Up on the road back. And so I shot the picture. And I'm going to take that and size it up. When I was looking at this picture, after it was taken, right? I am not kidding. And I could prove this to you if you're in my presence one of these days. I noticed, the clouds, the background, after the flag, after the kids, after the flag, beyond that, the clouds, the sky, there was a fallen crucifix. There was plainly one crucifix in the negative part of the cloud. It was chilling to see it. Right?
You look for give me cold seed right now.
I said to myself, you know what? I want to left this picture in a raw format. So if anybody look at these files and say, oh, maybe Richard manipulate that, okay, could do anything, right?
No,
Yeah, they say, oh, this is an untouched image of this crucifix in the sky. It was so, like, I never expect to see things like that. Because I tell you the truth, especially up to 2012, I wouldn't consider myself, I've changed since then. Things like this probably have changed, influenced my change. But then I was very much a seeing is believing kind of guy. So the spiritual thing, yeah, I believe I did believe that there's more to life than what we see, but I never imagined that his spirituality would influence what I had captured in those images.
Interesting. How do you feel about the change in the money now, with the putting up Mr. Price on the I believe it's on a $100 bill or one of those bills. Do you approve of it?
Oh, absolutely. I think that is a wonderful thing to do. However, I also feel like they should have kept something with the Queen. And I think they had to go all radical and say she's off the money. She's a part of our history as well.
Yeah. I think they could have waited until after at least the Guatemala claim was settled, no? That is my opinion. But listen, we're scheduled for an hour. We got about 5 minutes left, and I want to see where else we could squeeze in there. No, very interesting interview. I'll tell you that. What's next for Richard Holder?
Well, what's next for Richard Holder? The sky's the limit, but we have to start from scratch again. I'm in Houston now. I've only been back here for just came back from Belize, but we actually moved on the 1st of January. I intend to continue pursuing visual arts and fine arts and music. This is a huge part of my new identity now. I'm going by the name Adrian, which is actually my middle name. So I can't be Richard Holder, photographer and musician. I think that's too much. So Adrian is the new thing. That name is coming out now, and I have really.
Where did that come from? Where did the name Adrian come from?
Yeah, it was given to me by my mom. It's my middle name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's the middle name. All right. Good.
It's the middle name, yeah. So I have yet to really kind of settle here. We're still doing a lot of things just to get started.
Are you recording anything yet? Have you recorded anything?
I am just getting back all of my equipment because I'm buying new equipment here, to start back with my recording. But I could tell you this much, over 400 compositions already. And
wow. These are songs that you have written?
Yeah, these are 400 songs I've already, some of them completely finished already, Yeah,
you may talk about music and lyrics?
Yeah, see this book? I brought it in case I get an idea. I usually get up at night and I write. Because I get these dreams, and then I just start to write. The whole damn song come to me at the same time. Then some of the gifts where I realize I'm lucky to have, because this music thing is kind of consuming somewhat. But it's very much similar to art and photography. I'll tell you why. I know the clock is ticking. All good art abides by similar elements such as repetition and chaos, and how you distribute and orchestrate all those different elements. Will it be minimalist? Will it be orchestral? Will it come from the left? Will it come from the right? What is the relation? Is so much playing going on in the process. To be the reason I could be a good musician is because I am a good photographer. The reason I could be a good photographer, it goes hand in hand. All these things come together.
Could you be a good teacher? Would you look one day maybe teaching youngsters how to
Yeah,
perform.
well,
But
I'll tell
the
you what,
rules
I'm already a good teacher. And let me tell you why, because I teach my kids. I
Okay.
taught them everything I know that's wonderful. I taught them the things my mom taught me that were beautiful about life, that gave me hope and happiness to be here. I think as a father, that is the first example of me being a teacher. I am confident. And you know what, G? I know you feel this way too. I have a love for mankind. I have a love for mankind. You know, I want to be. You asked me about Trump, you know, and his group of people. I know in the States right now it's a very divided country. I see that there's two, but I didn't come here to worry about him. I came here to be a part of the solution, if you want to think about it like that, right?
Yeah.
Counter to that part, right? Something positive, right? That's why we're here.
Is Belize in your future at all? Are you planning on maybe coming back, doing some work here again?
I have exhibits already proposed to happen in Belize as soon as I get settled. Belize is
Okay.
2 hours away. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
one thing I'll say about that, I am not abandoning my country. I am
Wonderful.
not abandoning my country. I have just left. Whatever I gain here is coming back home. And that's for sure. So you could expect
Do you know that gentleman that just came on board there? You know him at all?
no ordinary Joe.
Oh, you know the man. Yeah, man. A stranger. He abandoned me for a while there, but it looked like the prodigal son is back in the house. Yeah.
The man
Why,
only
Rich?
like
Well,
5 years.
I hope you can hear me. Are you hearing me?
I didn't hear you. You didn't hear Richard?
I could hear loud and clear.
All right,
Yeah.
good.
Can I ask you, Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Who
ma'am.
is this distinguished character, Richard Holder? I think I remember this celebrity.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. Is that, like I said, many of the nice pictures I've seen has his signature on it.
That's
He's a photographer. He's a musician now. He and I hope. Look at this there. What we got
right,
you?
Yeah.
man.
UK.
You took this shot?
Yes, man. I took it in Benke. There's Mr. Price. This is a picture I was describing to you, G, about.
Oh yeah. With but so
Yeah.
he didn't intend to pray. He
No,
just
no.
was just it just you captured it at that moment.
And the main light cut off. So that silhouette was powerful. You see that light just to kind of invade from the window.
Yeah. So
Create a great outline of him, you know. Beautiful.
and that wasn't intentional. That just happened.
The one light minus that one light is really what made this image remarkable to me. You know,
Yeah.
out of my control.
Wonderful. Why, Rich? A pleasure talking to you. We have to do this again soon.
Look, we're gonna throw in there for the last part.
Boy, there's something about the female body, huh? Joe would know something about that. He has done some capturing of images himself. It's just not displayed there, right?
Well, what I'd like to say to Richard before he leaves, I think, Richard, your artistic work, have no doubt, make this saying a truism, a universal truism in your writings that a picture is 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And I think the picture that I have seen you taking, my brother, I would say that you are excellent.
Well,
Seen many.
I'm also interested in what G was talking about. Maybe we could collaborate on something, man. Let's see your collection next.
Well,
Respect, my brother. Thank you very much for the time, and let's do this again, man. All right,
Yes,
sometime.
man. Anytime you're ready, G, I'm right here. Just let me know, man. Good luck with the surgery.
Let's have luck going forward and stay safe, right? Yeah, man. All right. Richard Holder, he has been pushing the boundaries as far as art is concerned. He's a wonderful photographer and has now branched off into music. But we, on the second half of the show now, we got a gentleman with about 10 names. The 10 are just 4. But he had for pronounce for me. I've been trying to pronounce your name for the past couple of years since I've seen you pop up on my screen. You were on I believe we're friends on Facebook, aren't we? Or that just I talk to you, Israel Joshua.
I know. Listen, I'd wait till you finish. One, the suffix missing, and that's Junior.
What are the whole name?
My name is actually Raymond Austin Edward. You could call me Raymond. That would be better. That'll be easier.
Raymond.
Everybody in Belize knows me as Raymond.
So where did
Yeah.
the name? Obviously, this got a Jewish ring to it. Are you Jewish?
No, I'm not.
So why the name? Yeah. Pronounce it for her. How do you pronounce that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. When I left Belize in 1991, I was back and forth for a little while, and then I came back again in 97, and I stayed since 97. And I was living in Tucson, Arizona, and I became good friends of a rabbi, and he translated my Teutonic names that I got from my mother into Hebrew.
So he bestowed upon you this name.
And I understood this name to be my spiritual name, which Yahushua or Joshua, that's for Raymond. David is for Austin, and Shlomo is for Edward. And then my last name is Segiri. Well, I took it upon myself to change my last name to Israel.
Israel. Now, given the problems that we are having in the Middle East, and given the atrocities we see committed by this nation after which you have named yourself, how do you feel about that? Any opinion of it about that?
Yeah, that was one very sad thing, to see that all those innocent women and children and elderly folks are just being murdered and killed at a whim, and that is the way it looks to me, and I just think that is definitely that's wrong.
But does it give you any second thoughts about assuming this new name?
No, it doesn't. The truth is, I don't see the people living the Zionists as being the true Hebrews and the true descendants of Shem, or they're the tribal people that are spoken of in the Bible. I see them as descendants of Japhet and Hasidic Jews, and all a part of the imperialists and Zionist regime that is trying to rule and conquer the world. And in my book, they're just like it says in the Bible, they're pretty much from the synagogue of Satan.
Wow.
That's the way I look at Netanyahu right now.
A lot of people have not read that part of the scriptures, and that is also in the Bible, in the King James Version. And actually it's repeated, in 2:9 and 3:9 of Revelation speaks about those who call themselves Jews and are not, are of the synagogue of the devil. So they're not. You're not even encouraged to talk about that, and those so-called Christians and those who are Bible thumpers and just supporting this atrocity, if you will. Don't look at that. But I don't know. They may be just the children of Esau as opposed to the children of Jacob.
Say that again?
They could be the children of Esau as opposed to the children of Jacob.
Well, whatever they're doing is not right, and it's wrong. And in my book, I mean, I'm not here to judge them, but I can't conform, or I can't agree with that at all. And I would never stand with that kind of, ideology and rationale. And that's just that it's wrong. And it's terrible that nobody is able, no country or no nation or no leader is able to do anything about it. It's just sad, but I believe in God, and I know that their time will come. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Well, they have the mighty United States behind them, no? So they're all about might.
United States. I mean, these leaders in the U.S., they have been deceived ever since, and that's the way I feel. I'm not trying to sell this how I feel on anybody, but I've done my share of reading, and from what I've studied and from my experiences in my journey in life, I'm at the conclusion that they're deceiving the planet. They're deceiving everybody in the earth into thinking that they're the chosen people and they get to do or choose who is the devil and who is evil from who is not. Doesn't make any sense.
No, tough thing. Tell us about Raymond. And Joe, with long time another year, you can't come in and just ease in for me like that. I know you got a lot for say when I talk about that. When I get back to some of the things that directly that's happening, there's a lot happening right now.
Oh yeah.
And Raymond, and the name is Gary. There was a Gary who lived on Cemetery Road a long time ago. Right where Angus Vernon later took up residence. And any relations?
Well, from what I know, all the Isigiris, they're related, one way or the other. And
yeah, I know a common name actually.
Yeah, and the thing is, but first of all, before I even go ahead, I feel like it's an honor and a privilege to be in the presence of Mr. Koi and yourself, and for you to give me the opportunity to, be on your show. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you, for that opportunity.
The honor is ours.
It's reciprocal, my brother.
That's right.
Yes, but all the Isigiris, from what I've just met some of my relatives on the Isigiri side, finally, after many years or decades or 3 or 4 decades here in the United States. The only Isigiri when I was in Belize was my grandfather, and I met him. I have one experience of him when I was about 5 years old, his presence, and I never had any relationship with him. I never met him until maybe 30 or 35 years after. And just
what was his name?
And other than that, my father, I never met my father. I never met him to the extent that I got to see him or recognize him as my father. If you understand what I'm trying to say. My father left when I was like 5.5, maybe about 6 years old. And he never returned. And many years after, I made an attempt to come and get to meet him and link and get to know him. And that failed as well. I was never able to meet him. I only spoke to him on his dying bed. And,
go ahead. Finish the story because I want to say
he passed away, and then after that, years after, when I had gotten into the construction business and starting doing construction in Los Angeles, that's when I met the other Isigiris who were offsprings of my grandfather, my great grandfather.
I'm saying we're getting all these delinquent father stories tonight because Richard was talking about his father that didn't treat him well growing up, and he didn't. Now, Joe, how was your father? Did you guys have a good relationship?
Oh yeah, I must say thank God that in that time, I believe most of the families in that period, they did have a father and a mother, in most cases, which is what made a difference in our society, the sense of values, which they brought with it.
So you think that part of the reasons why we're so off track nowadays?
Well, I have a story to tell about that, and I just want to encapsulate it for Mr. Sigiri in the sense that these were not university people, and I'm not here to denigrate university opportunities, but they were primary school graduates. And yes, it was a colonial period, but they had a sense of value. They understood what it was like to be our brothers and sisters' keeper. Thou shalt not steal, respect the law, and all these things. Now, coming back to that, the Segueris, I knew many of them. And Segueris was well known in this society. The Raymond Segueri, there was one I knew who was a very good builder. In fact, he built the Maya Beach buildings, which was supposed to have the diamond head shape from the air.
That's my Franz Raymond. That's my grandfather.
Right. I knew him well. Raymond was, he behaved like he was a Tarzan. Very nice guy. I like him. I was younger than him, but I loved him. But just 2 days ago, I found a guy that I had long ago forgotten. I haven't seen. His name is Siga. He's a surveyor. So again, he's a Sigiri. And then you had the Segueres too that was attached to politics. They used to write in the newspaper, the reporter.
Mhm.
So Segere is somewhat like an icon in the society, if I could put it as
Mhm.
such. Because they have
Made
been,
their mark. Made
yeah,
their
they
mark.
have been in all walks of life in this country. So they have
Yeah,
made
well,
them.
I actually don't hold anything against my dad. I mean, I always, when I was when I was a child, my mom made sure that we had Bible study once or twice a week, and every Sunday we had to go to Sunday school, and every Sunday night we had to go to church,
That's right.
and as a family. And when we go to church, my brothers and I, my sister, we had to sometimes we would during collection we would help to do the collection, and we would have to read a Bible verse during collection. My mom would get up and sing a song in front of the church, and my great grandmother was always there. She was actually the one that raised us. My great grandmother, her name is Christabel Aletta Ireland, and she used to be like the head nanny at Methodist Mission from way back, like in the early 1930s, in Corozal. And when we moved to Belmopan, she came. Well, before that, we were living in Belize City, and she came there and she stayed with us. I was maybe about 5 years old, and she stayed with us for the rest of her life, pretty much. And
Oh, good.
but the point I'm trying to make about my dad, I never going to school. I mean, going to church, and my mom teaching us about God and made sure that we knew about God and had God in our lives. I learned from an early age that God is the one who put separation in our lives, and everything happens for a reason. That is how I look at it. So my only journey was to hopefully meet my dad and get to know him, and to find out who I was and who I am. In other words, I was trying to find myself, and that's a part of the journey that I still haven't completed yet, because I never met him.
So
He-
with all that church background, now what went wrong? I mean,
what went wrong with what?
don't worry about it. I'm jibbing you. Yeah, you're all right. You seem to be a nice fellow. Listen, they put up on the screen. I guess they want your take on this one. Yeah, can you read that? What's your take on the average one perception
What is
of
your
God?
take on the orange of Gaza?
And,
Could it be the Riviera of the Middle East?
and Trump
Yeah,
talking about
it could be it could be a Riviera for the Middle East for the Palestinians. Rightfully, it should be a Riviera
nice.
of the Middle East for the Palestinians.
Yeah.
And if he has one ounce of conscience, I mean, they're just as responsible for destroying Gaza or Palestine as Israel is, as Netanyahu is, and they should they should pay to rebuild it for the Palestinian people.
I think you know what's sad, because the Palestinian people are moving back, but there are a lot of bombs that have not been exploded, unexploded bombs laying around in that place, and there's still going to be a lot of death and destruction.
Yeah, but they have an obligation to clean that up, and if they don't want to clean it up and they're not going to clean it up, then just let the Arab world or the rest of the countries that are willing to help the Palestinians come in and get the work started. It's just like the fire in Pacific Palisades. After that fire the other day, I mean, it's only 80,000 people or so was displaced, but I mean, the place is toxic, and there's a lot of cleaning up that needs to be done. He's not displacing those people to rebuild Pacific Palisades. I mean, maybe that is what he should do. And he's talking about Americans first. What about all the homeless people that are living on the streets, scattered all over? The homeless people scattered all over the streets in all the various different cities and states in the union. Why don't he go and find a swat of land and build homes for the homeless people? And that's how you think about Americans first.
But funny you should talk about that. I saw somebody post from a content creator. They say pictures of Belize City and looking really dumpy and dirty. And they were saying, well, she didn't expect this to meet this in Belize. And even a lot of Belizeans are saying, well, she's not telling a lie. What do you expect? But there are a lot of places in America. If you go to certain places too, you'll see that. You'll see Skid Row in many different cities. So I don't think anybody could certainly Americans could look down on others and say, oh, look at Uno, when in fact look at you too, so and I really think you're correct. They should, if you want to do America first, look at the poor of America. Look how much money they're spending sending spaceships up to space. One of them blew up the other day, got a couple of astronauts out there right now when they can't bring home, and there's so many people in America really dying of starvation. They don't want to talk about that. Yeah, she claims that Belize is the worst place she ever visited. And that's all right. I don't know who took her to where they took her or where she went, but for me, Belize is one of the best places I have ever visited, and I lived 20 years in the U.S., 21 years in the U.S. You see what I'm saying? So you don't tell me that Belize is all that terrible. It is not. There are people in Belize who are living good and happy, and certainly I believe that right now, people in Belize are happier than people living in the United States of America. And I've
we have to commend the government too for looking out for those people that they're putting on the planes and deporting back home to Belize. I mean, they're at least. I was watching that program last night with Aria Lightfoot and Bilal Morris, where they were saying that, or they were speaking to some lady from the what's the name of the place? I can't remember the name right now, but they're allowing Belizeans to come home and bring like $20,000 worth of stuff duty free, and I mean that's a good thing to do to welcome our people home, And I in a way, what you were saying just now about Donald Trump, it's not all that he's doing is bad, but it's really and truthfully how he's approaching it. Most of it is terrible, the way how he's going about getting it done. But I guess that's the kind of radical changes United States needs, and I think even we need some of that to some extent in some areas too. We need a.
What can I ask? What specifically would you refer to as the thing that Donald Trump is doing that would benefit the wide cross section of the American people?
Well, there's the only thing I was going to agree with him on was the issue with the cartels and the drugs, and the cartels because even Belizeans have a hard time traveling through Mexico to go home. There are many cases of Belizeans being robbed and being harassed, and so that part with dealing with the cartels, I'm done with that.
And I'm done with that. He can't do nothing about that, Raymond.
I know, but he took the initiative. He's using the raising of the tariffs and taxes and because of fentanyl and all that was coming across the border. And we know that that has a lot to do with the cartel. But I agree with him with his fight against the drug peddlers and the
but don't you think that has more to do with demand than supply? Because if there's no demand, they wouldn't bring in. If the American didn't lust so much for drugs, there would be no supply. They would not have no need. Nobody really carry no drugs across the border if there was nobody to buy it. Don't you think? So don't you think he needs to address that first?
Well, first thing he's got to do is consolidate and reorganize himself and his shit. That's his way of doing it. I mean, I don't agree with it. I mean, there's a lot of people that he's stepping on, and that's wrong.
But there is something I think we are missing here, Mr. Israel. Let's take the case with Mexico. All right. He imposed tariff on Mexico. And those who are not fathoming what is happening would take it that Trump did a good thing. It is because he imposed the tariff. Mexico has decided now that he will build up troops at the border and to stop the precursors from going across with the drugs. But that is not what really happened. That's what he led people. What happened is that Mexico had already been improving troops on the border in 2017, in 2019, and now he had a plan up to 15,000 troops. So to me, when he thought and he led people to believe that it was the import duty, it was not that, because the plan was already there for it. So he got nothing more than he was to go to Canada.
You get money by raising the tariff. The rich has become richer, and that is going to be passed on to the consumers anyway.
No, but what he did, he put a hole on it, so the tariff isn't going through with Mexico.
Yeah, no, not going through.
It's not going through. Then he gone to Canada, and he threatened Canada with tariff. And what happened? Canada had a plan already to increase the numbers at the border also. And now he backs out of that. So the point I'm making that Trump didn't get anything.
So is he failing?
No, except Nicola.
No, he didn't get anything. What he got was what was already to be given. If you look at what happened indeed, look at the only one so far, I think, will take countervailing duties and retaliate is China. Because Trump isn't going to impose any tariff on Canada and Mexico. But he led us to believe that the threat of the tariff causes to happen. None of these things Trump did. They were already being planned to be done, and they were doing it already.
But Joe, doesn't most of the stuff that America consumes come from China? Doesn't China produce most of the things that are sold?
China do.
No, the trade with Canada and Mexico is bigger, except that the trade balance is in favor of Mexico and Canada against the U.S.
But just about everything you buy in America is made in China, and that's a fact. There are lots of things.
He does a lot of trade with China. He does, and I agree with you. He does a lot of trade with China. But when you look at what he does with Mexico and Canada, his two neighbors, it's a large amount of trade. I think it's about nearly 1/3 of the imports.
Well, when you talk about two big countries full of consumers, so certainly the trade, I want two-way thing. They're not just to buy things from them; they sell stuff to them. And if they put tariffs and then Canada and Mexico put their own tariffs, they're gonna have problems.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the tariff issue with Mexico and Canada, you can discard that. That will not operate again. The one with China, though, what you have to understand is that what America is importing from China will affect the American consumers. So the truth about it is that the tariff that Trump is imposing on China will only create inflation.
It will. I mean, I'm saying the only thing I was willing to give him credit on is the fact that he wants to consolidate, regroup, and fight the problem that they have with drugs. He didn't go about it the right way. It's like he pulled out a big stick and he's wielding it and looking to swing at everybody's head around him for them to jump and come and do what he tells them to do. But at the end of the day, it's the political system and the way how this country operates. They're the ones that created Donald Trump.
Of course.
They're responsible for Donald Trump and what he's doing right now. And 70 million of his loyalists. And the rest of them are not far behind.
Let us look at this situation and how it will affect us in Belize. They have 96 of them lined up ready to come back. The Belize government is saying, all right, we're allowing $20,000 duty free. We're not going to bring in things we want to bring in. But is Trump going to allow them to leave America with $20,000 worth of stuff? Number one, because he put them on a plane and just to send it. Now, the Prime Minister did say, I hope they send it in a dignified fashion, which is what Colombia's beef was all about. But how is this going to affect Belize in the long run?
I don't think it's going to help us. And I know in Florida, the governor was talking about stopping people from sending money and all that. I didn't really get the full gist of it, but it's going to affect us in a way. But it's going to let us buckle down too, and button our hatches and get ourselves our act together. And that is what we need to do moving forward. And that's why it's like Dickie was saying last night, it's important that Shine Barrow and Miss Tracy, they reconcile and they create a viable
Opposition.
of
Opposition,
offense
yeah.
or competition to the PUP. The thing is, me personally, I wouldn't want any of them, PUP nor UDP. But the thing is, we're in a situation where we don't have a choice. So we got to look at what would be the best outcome and go for that and pray for that.
You see any hope for a third party? You see a third party at any point down the road?
It would be great. I mean, but I think that what Belize needs is it's a paradigm shift as well, and it needs a complete change in our politics. It needs one where all Belizeans would come together and do away with this multi-party, two-party system. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't have a political science degree, but I know that the way how we're going, it has been proven time and time again. It's not the right way.
But hold on, Raymond. Hold on, because you're saying you don't want to get rid of the two-party system, multi-party system. What are we gonna have? A one-party system?
I don't know how we're gonna say. Not really a dictatorship.
Yeah, but
we have all heads like Mr. Coy right there that could come together and walk us through what we could do.
Well, I have no doubt that we can do it together. But what I'm saying is that you mentioned choice. We do have a choice. I think what happened to us, and this is something we have in common with what happened in America recently with Trump, and what is maybe happening in Belize. It's not so much a problem of the PUP and the UDP. It's a problem of us, the people. For example, it is clear that in America, in the choice they made, the burden of choice, they did not accept their burden of choice. The burden of choice in a democratic society is for us to be well-informed, well-educated, fully participate in how we are being governed. Now, what happened in America recently? One, it's clearly shown where Trump increased in the numbers of blacks, increased in the numbers of Hispanics. So the numbers went up, gave him a victory. But they didn't make a choice based on being well-informed. And that's what they're ending up with. We have a similar case in Belize. The problem is, I was a minister of government for 10 years. I've been a PUP. But I myself had to really resign from a cabinet with 6 others joined me. And it's not something I'm boasting about. I wish it never had to happen, but it happened. But it brought about results. So we, as a society, as a people, as citizens, if we want to uphold our democracy, the Constitution, which is a foundational cornerstone of the rule of law and a just society, we have to participate. We cannot participate only at the ballot box and leave it. No, we got to go beyond.
All right, let us go back to the deportees coming back to Belize, because that's going to be something that we're going to have to grapple with. A lot of these people are unfamiliar with Belize. They don't uproot themselves and transplanted themselves and had only America in their front view there. How are they going to adjust? Will they be able to adjust? Are we going to accommodate them? Are we going to do what's necessary to make them comfortable and feel at home? Are they going to be able to feel at home in Belize?
Well, from what I kind of heard is that most of those people that they're sending back are people that came recently under what you call it, that refugee program.
A lot of them were criminal types, though, weren't they?
But I mean, they're not the Belizeans that have been here for generations or for 10 years, 15 years. There are of that number that just came recently on the catch and release, under the catch and release program that Biden was sufficing or was allowing. I don't know, but I don't know for sure, but I mean,
how we handle it? How are we in Belize going to handle that, though? We
will have to find a way. I mean, we have to find a way to but we got to bring them in and embrace them on the way in, and we have to have a system set up whereby that when they could have a place to go when they get there. And this business of them coming in handcuffed and with chains or shackles around their ankles and stuff like that, and then you're putting them in prison and they've got to report. I mean, I don't see these people, some of them, the ones that are not criminals. I mean, they say that they're criminals just by entering illegally.
Yeah, but that's not a crime to me.
Yeah, I don't see that as a crime either.
But here's the thing, though. Many of them that went to the States in that recent program were guys who, some of them were gang members. Some of them were indeed ex-criminals. Not all of them. And how do we weed them out? How do we manage them when they return to Belize with nothing to do, no job, unless you're going to immediately give them a job? Some of them they want to work because a lot of the ones who are there picking up are the ones who don't have a regular job as such, no? So I don't know. We're in a quandary. We're going to have to figure something out. What do we do?
If we are looking at 90 people, gentlemen, coming back,
that the kind of sit down where you need for put Tracy Panton and Shine Barrow and John Briseno to sit down and have a discussion with them. I mean, they don't have to be together, but I mean, you need to have a discussion with these people. These are the people who are leading the way.
correct.
And and then we participate in the discussion. I mean, that's the only way I could see us getting started on working up or coming up with a plan how we're going to be. And the sooner we do it, the better.
Mr. Israel, you have the answer. I thought among us we could have found the answer, and that is it. We have to give them a reorientation program. We have to reorientate them back into the society. 90 people is not many people for Belize, man. Please, we must could afford to reorient them. They are our people, they are Belizeans. And I think it's an opportunity now to really discern who you are, what you are doing, and give them a kind of, not a welcome, not to have to go to the airport and welcome them, but give them an orientation program and give them opportunity. Just like we are doing with the guys there under the state of the, remember the SOP thing where we had with the SOE?
Should we give them a warning? Should we?
No, if they have a criminal record and they have outstanding crimes on their record, and you're able to prove that against them, then when they come back, you treat them accordingly. I mean,
it'll have to be a vetting program. Joe,
right. You vet them.
Has a date for elections been set, or has it been postponed?
No, they didn't do it today. They didn't. They were expecting it today, but they didn't. I
was hearing that it would have been March the 12th. Did you hear that?
Yeah, they've been knocking around March, but they have the time within which they have. Once they dissolve the house, that's it. They only have, I think, 21 days after.
Yeah.
But the house
but the way how things look dismal right now, the way how things they go, I pray that even though I know with Shine Barrow as a UDP and with Mr. Briseno as the Prime Minister PUP, they're too right there. Then they carry on this Palestinian Israel fight into the future, because I know that both of the parties there, they have a cabal, and each one of them are leaning towards one with the other, and either the Palestinians or the Jews. And I have a suspicion that I'll be the first to say it, but I have a suspicion that I would really want Shine Barrow tell the people what are his intent moving forward if he would ever get the chance to lead. What would be his intention as far as working with Israel or the Jewish people?
Listen to me. I spoke to Shine. Shine was on the show with us a while ago, and I'd asked him that question actually, and he said that he felt that what they were doing to the Palestinians people were wrong, and I all I can do is hold him to that. No,
the first time that's not what he said. That's what he told you when he was in front of you. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if he would get into the office and he would get elected, you understand? What would be who is financing him? I mean, I'm sure he's getting money from those people some kind of way. We don't know how, but that's my suspicion.
Well, yeah, but again, that was suspicion, and we'd have to find out. We have to investigate, of course. We can't. In fact, we have to investigate everybody and where they're getting whatever money they're getting. We're too loose with that. We just don't know who's in whose pocket, and that's one problem. Let's face it. Now, I don't know, and I don't see Shine being a factor anyway moving in the near future.
You feel like UP will definitely win, no?
After, man, I mean, who would think they wouldn't?
I sure hope there's some kind of divine intervention, and
it'll take a hell of a divine intervention. We have to get Richard Hola for taking a picture and show them, because at this point, how can the UDP has no chance in hell? I can't see it. I don't see anything in the immediate future.
I don't see neither. I think if he and the Alliance Party or Miss Tracy and her crowd, they would reconcile their differences, that would be a big plus for not only for them but for Belize on a whole.
But certainly not for this election. No, to this point, I don't think so. Listen, we need an opposition. We need a strong opposition. I don't see right now an effective opposition.
So who you see as the opposition then?
There is no opposition. The people has to be the opposition, and this is what Joe has been saying for a long time. The people have to be more involved. We have to look at. We can't just sit down on our hand and make them do what they want, regardless of which party is in.
But
just let us know them.
I believe that the UDP has abdicated its responsibility to allow such internal division and to allow them to collapse. While this country needs a strong opposition, whether PUP or UDP, we always want to have a credible alternative. That is what democracy, robust democracy, is about. So when the UDP, it was not the PUP that got into the party and caused them to collapse. It is out of their own lack of political acumen and sincerity, whether that Shine or whether that Tracy. The thing to me is that it is not good that they are the one who have abdicated their responsibility under the Constitution. They created this problem for this country now to have it's very likely it could have 31 seats PUP, and that would not be good for us. But who is the victim?
So as a result of that, deservingly, we should be settled with the fact that the PUP should take control moving forward, or be the ones to...
Settle with the fact is not a good word. We shouldn't be settled with it, because we should continue to strive to develop a good opposition, but we have to be resigned to the fact that there's no opposition, and it is what the way it looks right now, like the PUP is in full control.
No, the next 4 years under Trump and all the craziness with lunacy where they happen right now, and the fact that you're going in front of the ICJ, the next 4 years critical. Something dramatic has to happen. There has to be something out of the ordinary that would be able to work out in our favor or in Belize's favor.
Well, I saw the teachers. The teachers
point, Mr. Chairman, could you the point that you made, and it may be slipping us. I think he said something very important. We recognize what is happening, but we do not accept it. In other words, don't accept that yes, the UDP goes under and the PUP will win. We should not accept that, but we must recognize that that is what will likely to happen. So we, the people, as we say we are, what is it that we will do about it?
You have to explain that to me. How do you accept it? How do you recognize it and not accept it, Joe?
To me, I can recognize that we have a problem, but I'm not going to accept that we must have that problem. I'm going to do something about it.
Try and find a way.
The recognition of a problem is not the tolerance and the acceptance of a problem. It's the recognition. You have to recognize that we have a problem, and then
just start to finding the solution.
That's right. That's
we could argue that. We could argue that, but we won't. Let's
They say in life,
by the way, Mr. Koi,
in life the obstacle is not it's not a block. It's the way forward.
Well, Mr. Koi and G Mike, you know that I think the house there where Mr. Price used to live in at Belmopan was shared by Mr. Golson when the UDP may get in, because One time I meet Mr. Golson, more than one time actually. Me the walk along the sidewalk going from that same Lee house where Mr. Price used to live in. I think Mr. Price allowed Mr. Golson for stay there too, or the house might have been a government house owned by the people, and Mr. Price allowed, or it was Mr. Golson's turn to stay there when the UDP had taken over. I was listening to Mr. What's his name, the guy that was on before, Mr. The photographer,
Holder.
the artist,
Holder.
Holder. Yeah. And you know, I had some experiences with Mr. Price too. I mean, he was every day. Practically when I was going to junior school, I used to walk past Mr. Price's house all the time. And a couple of times I met Mr. Golson. I had a couple of encounter and run-ins with Mr. Price too. One time I was hitchhiking, and Mr. Price gave me a ride to Belize City, and he talked to me the whole way.
I think everybody got that experience, boy. At some point, he was a man like that. But you
see,
grew up,
Mr. Price was a spiritual man, and he was all about being in the spirit and having a relationship with God. You understand? And he wasn't chasing money. He wasn't chasing material wealth. He was all about the people and love and humility and being humble and kind to people. And then he figured that God will show him the way from day to day. That's how my experience with him. I mean,
you're very right. That's what I know.
That's what we don't have today. And
how
that's
you feel about
Donald Trump don't have that either. Donald Trump is talking about God this and God that. Donald Trump probably never had a good kneel down and prayer, a moment of prayer to the good Lord all his life. The only prayer he had towards money. And that's a problem that these American people have. And it's sad.
How you feel about the change of the money?
Well, you know, that Mr. Price and Mr. Golson, and you know, that are our way of showing respect and gratitude to them. So from that point of view, you know, I don't have a problem with it, but you know, I don't big into all that, you know. We are one of the 3 countries. I mean, you have Canada, St. Grenadines, and St. Vincent, and Belize that recognizes the supremacy of God in our constitution. Belize are the only country where they say or claim to have a religion. But thanks to Mr. Price, we had a spiritual relationship with God. And, you know, I think that Belize is where it is today. We've always had a peaceful election, and we haven't had any bloodshed like that per se in our politics. And, you know, I think it's because of the kind of leadership that not only he, but Mr. Golson brought to the table. As I think Mr. Golson was a spiritual man too. When I met Mr. Golson, he had somebody walking with him because he was blind. And he wore some dark shades just like the singer Ray Charles. And the man used to take and walk Mr. Golson and take him down the sidewalk to work every morning. And it was on the road that I used to go all the time to go to school. But anyway, I just wanted to make a point that, you know, the problem we have in Belize is that, you know, we're not looking to the people first. We're reaching out and seeing what we could get. I mean, just today, I mean, I agree with the opposition today. I mean, how much money these people are going to borrow? I think that they're looking to borrow money to finance their campaign. That's what I think. I mean, we don't know, but I mean, why are you going to go borrow 200? I mean, and you're not taking care of the teachers. How long have these guys? How long since they were supposed to take care of the teachers? Teachers, I mean, take care of the teachers. With all that money that they got already, they borrowed, and they're going to go borrow more money again. I mean, they're just putting us like they said today, Miss Pantona and Shine Barrow and even Patrick Faber. I mean, they're sticking our children with the burden of paying back all that money. I don't care if it's just a little bit of the interest is so low. I mean, it's not time to borrow any more monies. It's time to consolidate.
I kind of give some credit to what you say, but very measured in the sense that I listen to them myself. But there's an important point they miss. It's not borrowing is your problem, you know. It's what you do with the money that you borrow.
Mhm.
So if you invest your money in a way that will give returns beyond the cost of the money, it's a cost benefit analysis in these financial models. There is
Mhm.
a cost to borrowing, but there must be a benefit. And if the benefit outweighs the cost, it's not which generation will pay for it. The point is that when you are doing capital investment today, the generation to come will benefit. The generation 20, 30 years from now will benefit from the investments today. So I didn't take the point about, well, you're borrowing too much and the burden will be on those to come. No. If you are borrowing money to invest in infrastructure, in education, in healthcare, these are developing human resource for the future of this country. No. If you are borrowing the money and you are not putting it to good use, and there is not proper accountability, and there's blown up contracts, then to me that would have been the issue to talk about. But it's not borrowing per se is your problem. It is what you're borrowing for.
Well, you know, they've already showed us what they're made of time and time again. I mean, like for instance, the teachers they should have been received their increments and whatever monies that were owing to them. So what happened to all the financial planning that they did prior to them making that commitment? How come they were never able to pay the teachers on time as they had scheduled in their plan? I mean, they have shown us that they're not going to stick to whatever they're saying. They're telling the people. I mean, in 4 years' time, too, okay, they win this next election, next 4.5 years. Let's say the UDP win. Everything is going to get upended and get turned upside down, and we'll be back to the same situation again. With, I mean, it don't make no sense.
You
I
know,
don't know.
I listen to that issue. And again, my sympathy evidently have to be with the teachers, we should. But I ask myself, why is it that they didn't get their money? Is it because of the minister or the ministry? Evidently it wasn't. The problem with it seems it has to do with the management. If the management had prepared what they had to do, the money would have been there to pay. No, the only thing,
The management on whose part, Mr. Koi?
because what happened, the government pays salaries to both private schools and public schools. They pay to both. But the money go to the schools and the management of the schools manage the schools, that they have to manage it. No, these teachers that had earned some money, increments and whatnot, things that they were to get, the management did not have the proper documents ready to have it sent for them to be paid. And I heard one of the teacher quite candidly and frankly, I thought she was right. She was more putting he was not telling, to me, the demonstration evidently was to bring to the consciousness again that the teachers should not have been in that position. They should not. But we need to ask, why is it so? What I would
Do
have.
you
Sorry.
do you know for a fact, Joe, that that is in fact what happened? Has there been a thorough look into this matter? Has it been determined that the problem lay with the management of the schools as opposed to the
They were,
ministry?
they are the
Is it?
primary responsibility for it. What I had suggested as a chartered accountant myself, we have many of us. What I think the ministry could have done of education was to pay resources to get it done, go into the management, get it done, and after that, you take some measures against those who fail to do what they should have done. But the teachers became the victims of some culprits that need to be dealt with, wherever they are, because it was unfair to the teachers to be in that position.
So who does that? Who does the dealing
I'm
with
saying
these purpose?
it has to do with management.
Yeah,
So
but who's managing on whose part? The government or the teachers, the
No,
Ministry of Education, who?
no, and the management of the schools.
Or the
The
schools?
schools are managed by, you take these schools, the private and the public. I don't think they have a problem with the private schools. You know, seems so.
But here's the problem, though, Joe. If that in management at school, all the schools have different managers, different management, correct? How come all of them were negligent and delinquent?
What the teachers are saying, indeed, that if it is not the management, then why is it that the information that the Ministry of Education needed they cannot get? The only fault I would have with the Ministry of Education, and I pointed that out indirectly to the minister, I think if I was the Minister of Education, I would have put some money into it to bring in resources to get it done for the teachers. And when I do an investigation. Why did it happen? And then sanction those who caused it. But in the meantime, finance additional resource, get it done so that the teachers get their money.
You mean go around the management?
That's right. Or go into the management, get it done. And when you're done, in that same process, you will be investigating. And wherever it went wrong, let them pay the price. But don't let the teachers be the victims. It's unfair to them.
And don't let it get so far to the point where the teachers start to protest and demonstrate, because that usually signal the downfall of any government, you know.
Yeah, that make the PUP have to borrow more money again right now too. And right now at a time like this, because they want to pay the teachers, they forget themselves out there with the teachers. And
but look at it. You think say if they had done the job, they could have quantified. And if they could have quantified, they could have said, listen, we the teachers, and I think this is where the union too needs some more, I think they need to tell more in depth. They need to have more in depth in terms of how to deal with these issues. The same thing I find with the trade unions today with the port. What I'm saying is that they should have been able to get from within their own resources what kind of money we're talking about for the teachers. If you can, instead of 10 million, you can't set up 5 million, you can't set up 20 million. I mean, that's bad, man. The teachers should never have been put in that position. What is the amount? How come we don't know what is it that is going to the teachers?
Well, like how the election, they come up and Mr. Ashcroft now and give the PUP no money because he convinced that they're just a win. I have a feeling, I have an inkling that they have to find a way for come up with money for finance their own campaign, pretty much. And then they try to figure out and then they scramble right now for see where that money will come from.
You mean the PUP?
Yeah.
But then I need no money.
That's what I'm thinking.
No money.
That's the biggest problem we have that Belize every 4.5 years, all the money when people spend.
But for this election, I'm going to look at this election, when they need money for because they're going to win, they don't need to pay nobody for vote this time.
I don't count out the underdogs at all. I don't want to count them out. I just hope that them pray. And I'm very easy upon them. If you're up to me, I mean, I don't nobody, but at the same time, I don't be easy upon them. But at the same time, again, I wish that they could have come up with something, pull an ace out on his sleeve, and find a way for stand up to the
I support 100% on that.
They need that sleeve nor deck a card. That's the problem. So
I would not gloat over no victory of that type for the PUP. It's not something to gloat over.
I would I wouldn't even be the god of the house right now.
I wish something would happen. I wish something would happen to bring the UDP together. It's for the good of the country. It's not your love the PUP less than the UDP less than that. You love your country more. So to me, a strong opposition is good for your country.
Let me ask something though. At this point, how good or how bad is the PUP doing? What are some of the things you would point at to say, because of this, we need to get rid of this government?
Well, I'll be honest with you, the PUP, they do all that bad under the circumstances. But the fact that one John Briceño, that one oligarch, he's been there forever. He has already made his money, and he's already thinking about retirement. And I don't see anybody as maybe I don't know. Maybe I would want to go with Francis Fonseca or even Mr. Musa's son, what's his name? Karim. You know, but I mean, all those guys, they're pretty good, and I think they're doing good overall. But I know Belize want to do better, if we get rid of the PUP and the UDP and find a way to let everybody be inclusive. You, Mr.
But
Coy.
again, Raymond, because you know the answer to that question there. You talk about one party system. Is that the concept that you have in mind?
There must be a way, man. I mean, there's no other way. Solidarity or some kind of way.
I know. And it's easy to say that, but if you want to talk or get rid of one system, you obviously have something in mind to replace it with. You'd have to. I don't think we could just say, well, we have to get rid of this type of system we have here with nothing in mind to replace it with. That'd be worse than what we have now. So
no, it'll be worse. Yeah, be something new.
Why it could be worse. But if you're saying in a one breath that you don't think they're doing badly, that they do all right, then certainly it could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, but I don't think the problem in the country is the party system. I think the party is a reflection of us, the society. These people in those political parties, they never come from somewhere else. They came from among us. So what we are seeing is a failure of the society generally, in a sense. Let me give you a quick look. You spoke up with surprise. I was 8 years old when my mother was there at the beginning. I am 82 today. But my allegiance to the principles that define the purpose of the PUP, that I will go to my grave with, because I think the principles that define it at the time of when Mr. Price and Goldston and them and my mother were around, those were great principles. It was about shared prosperity. The whole idea of the struggle for independence was to
how many years was there no party to contend against Mr. Price? How many years or terms consecutively was he elected? And
because Mr. Price emerged from among us as a leader for the masses, and he had
what we need. That's what we need.
He had a big backing from the background of the PUP was the trade union, the General Workers Union. They were the background. So the epicenter of the resistance to colonialism was in this city. And who was heading it? It's the Creole. The Creole was 72% of this population. It was they who headed the resistance to colonialism. Unfortunately, today, it's only 25%. So again, I don't want to be sounding xenophobic or I'm against any color. But the truth about it, if we had lived up to what the purpose of independence, I believe we'd all been better off today. But again, we both failed. And we need to find a way back to where we started.
Listen, we're out of time. We have to continue this conversation another time. Joe, thanks for coming back and making your presence felt. Mr. Yashua, David, and then we'll try. But anyway, Raymond, thanks for stepping up, man. We'll talk again soon, please, right?
I hope. Yeah, thank
you.
Please. And I must say this to Mr. Sigeri, he lives up to his name. You all made an impact in this society, Mr. Sigeri. You did, your family, the name.
Yeah, I want to give a quick story about my grandpa. The one who France, they say want to build Maya quick before I go. He said one time Palote made the sink. And then with the British, I forget whether in Parlings or one of them big construction company made that Belize, and for over 2 years they couldn't figure out how to fix the problem when they made the build Palote. And he gave them the idea for take one blimp and undermine it on the side with the sink and blow up the blimp and raise the building and put some concrete pylons underneath it for level it off. And he said that they ended up doing that and it worked.
I think that's.
I just wanted to pass that story on.
I remember that.
Still in it till today, guys. Thanks a lot. And see you guys next week, same time. Read between the lines. See why? Take it away.
Bye.